Dear beloved friend, there is something sacred about this hour of the morning. When the world has not yet fully awakened and the first threads of light gently touch the edge of the sky, the air is quieter, the heart is softer, and the soul becomes more honest than it dares to be at any other time of the day. In this stillness, it is easier to hear the questions we normally silence. It is easier to feel the weight we pretend is not there. And it is easier to sense that somewhere beyond the boundaries of our fear, a greater presence is drawing near. Maybe you are listening today with a mind heavy from restless nights. Or perhaps you woke up feeling the ache that loss and uncertainty often leave behind. You may be carrying a worry you have not spoken aloud, a disappointment that has lingered too long, or a fear that keeps returning no matter how hard you try to silence it. Many people walk through seasons like this, where the breaking point feels uncomfortably close and the path forward seems dim. I once met someone who described this feeling as waking up under a sky without color, convinced that morning would never truly arrive for them again. Yet even in that darkness, something inside them kept whispering that they were not forgotten. That fragile whisper was enough to pull them into one more day. Stories like that remind us of a truth we often overlook. Even the faintest desire to seek hope is already a sign that the light is working its way back in. Whether your heart feels strong or shattered this morning, the fact that you are here means you have not given up, and that alone is powerful. The dawn does not rush, yet it always arrives. So does healing, so does renewal, so does the quiet strength that faith brings one heartbeat at a time. As we step into this sacred moment together, let your heart loosen its grip on yesterday. Release the pressure to understand everything, fix everything, or pretend everything is fine. You are invited into something deeper than explanation and far stronger than fear. This is not just a routine or a ritual. This is the beginning of a conversation that has the power to change the inner landscape of your life. When we open ourselves to the presence of the one who knows us beyond words, prayer becomes more than speech, becomes breath, it becomes rest, it becomes the quiet rebuilding of all that has felt fragile or broken. So take a slow breath. Notice the light rising around you and within you. Whatever you carry, you do not carry it alone. Whatever lies ahead, you do not face it empty-handed. You are stepping into a place where hope is allowed to grow again, where strength is restored gently, and where impossible things begin to shift in ways the heart can finally recognize. Now, with your spirit alert and your heart open, let us walk together into this sacred space of prayer, trusting that every word ushered from sincerity will draw heaven nearer than it has ever felt before. Dear Heavenly Father, I come before you in this gentle morning light with a heart that is still learning how to steady itself after long nights of quiet battles. I do not pretend to be strong in every place or certain in every thought, but I bring what I have, and I ask you to meet me here as the day begins. I feel the lingering weight of things I have carried for far too long, the worries that follow me even when the world around me grows silent, and the questions that rise again the moment I open my eyes. Yet in this quiet hour, I sense that your presence is near, inviting me to loosen my grip on fear and breathe more slowly than I did yesterday. I offer you my first thoughts, my unguarded feelings, and the honest places within me that rarely find words. You know the corners of my heart where uncertainty still hides, the memories that stir discomfort, and the hopes I am almost afraid to claim. You see the fatigue that settles into my bones, and the restless thoughts that make it hard to move forward. Father, I lay all of this before you without shame, trusting that you do not turn away from the fragile parts of me. You receive them gently, without anger, without disappointment, and without rushing me to become someone I am not yet ready to be. As the sky brightens, help me welcome the day without the shadow of yesterday's failures. Let the morning remind me that I am not trapped in old stories or defined by moments I regret. Guide my heart to release what does not serve me and to rest in the truth you are working even when I cannot see how. I ask you to steady my thoughts, soften my fears, and give me clarity that rises like the slow unfolding of dawn. Bring renewal to the places within me that have grown cold from waiting, and breathe life into the dreams I set aside because they felt too heavy to carry alone. Let your peace cover me in a way that calms every anxious edge and quiets the noise that tries to pull me away from you. I ask for the courage to begin again, not with pressure or perfection, but with tenderness toward myself and openness to your leading. Dear Father, take this morning and shape it with your kindness. Take my uncertainty and turn it toward trust. Take my trembling and make it steady. Let your presence settle over me like a warm light, reminding me that I am held, seen, and guided as this day unfolds. Help me walk with a heart that is honest, hopeful, and ready to receive what you have prepared for me. I surrender the beginning of this day into your hands, believing that even small steps taken with you can open the way to quiet miracles and gentle beginnings. And in this quiet space, Father, I ask you to meet the deeper longings I rarely speak aloud. Reach into the places within me that feel tangled and uncertain, and bring a sense of order that only your presence can create. Where I feel overwhelmed, remind me that I do not walk alone. Where I feel unseen, whisper again that you know me fully and care for me completely. Where I feel hesitant to hope, encourage my heart to trust that healing and renewal are not beyond my reach. Let the gentle movement of this morning be a reminder that transformation does not always come with thunder or noise. Sometimes it begins with the soft willingness to believe that something better is possible, even if the path is slow and quiet. Teach me to recognize your guidance in the subtle ways you lead me, in the thoughts that calm me, and in the strength that rises when I need it most. As I step into the hours ahead, help me carry a spirit that is tender but resilient, open but grounded, hopeful but honest about the challenges I face. Hold my hand through the uncertainties. Steady my breath through the pressures, and keep my heart aligned with the gentle truth that your love is not distant but present in every moment I choose to seek you. Father, let this morning be the beginning of something deeper, something steady, something real within me. Let it be the moment when I choose trust over fear, peace over chaos, and clarity over confusion. Walk with me as the day unfolds, and shape my steps with quiet confidence drawn from your presence. Help me to rise with the assurance that I am guided, supported, and held with a love that never weakens. Even when I do, guide me when uncertainty rises, and steady my heart when fear tries to return. Let your peace follow me into this day, reminding me that I am held and never alone. Let this stay, Lord, as my thoughts continue to unfold from the quiet place where I ended before. I feel the soft echo of the earlier moments still resting gently in my spirit. The calm I began to sense has not vanished, but it shifts like a tender current moving through my chest, urging me to lean a little closer to your presence. There is something within me that wants to rise from the heaviness I brought to you, something that longs for reassurance beyond what my own strength can offer. I feel myself stepping deeper into honesty, not because I am brave, but because you meet me in ways that make courage feel possible. In this new space of morning clarity, I admit that part of my heart is still unsettled. There are thoughts I have pushed aside for years, memories I buried to keep myself functioning, and questions I avoided because the answers seemed too painful to face. Even now, they stir quietly, as if waiting for permission to breathe. Father, I place them before you, not perfectly arranged, not fully understood, but simply as they are. I do not ask for instant solutions, only for the grace to confront what I once feared without drowning in it. Help me explore the layers of my inner world with gentleness. Teach me to look at the wounds that shaped me without harshness or shame. I have lived with certain patterns for so long that they feel like truth, even when they are only echoes of old hurt. Show me how to recognize these hidden places, not to relive them, but to release the power they have had over me. I want to understand myself with clearer eyes, the way you see me, not as someone broken beyond repair, but as someone ready to grow in ways I once believed were impossible. Lord, steady my emotions as I face what has been buried. There are days when feelings rise without warning, pulling me back into moments I thought I had left behind. When this happens, I often respond with fear or numbness, unsure of how to navigate the surge. Today, I choose a different response. I bring these emotions to you as an offering, trusting that you can steady the storm inside me with a single quiet breath. Let your presence surround the fragile parts of me that still tremble when old memories surface. Let your compassion soothe the places that feel raw, and let your peace settle where tension once lived. Guide me to acknowledge the parts of my life that feel unfinished. There are chapters within me that closed too abruptly, conversations that never happened, and hopes that faded before I could understand why. These loose ends weigh on me, creating shadows that follow me even when light fills the room. I ask you to help me gather these scattered pieces with patience. Show me that closure does not always come through answers, but often through acceptance, understanding, and the quiet trust that healing can still take place even without explanations. Father, let this be the moment when emotional barriers begin to loosen. I have built walls over the years, not to keep you away, but to keep myself from feeling too deeply. Yet these walls have limited my growth, trapping me in patterns that no longer serve who I am becoming. I ask you to gently soften them, not forcefully, not all at once, but in a steady way that does not overwhelm me. If there are areas where I have grown distant, reconnect me to my own heart. If there are areas where I have become hardened, soften me with your tenderness. As I continue in this early light, let me notice the way your presence meets me not with pressure, but with patience. You do not rush my emotions, nor do you demand that I rise faster than my strength allows. You simply invite me to move at a pace that aligns with my healing. Help me follow that rhythm. Help me trust that I do not need to hide or pretend in order to be loved. You already know every corner of my inner life, and still you call me forward with kindness. Lord, let this morning be a turning point. Let it be the moment when I begin to understand my feelings not as burdens, but as signals guiding me toward deeper restoration. Teach me to listen to them without fear, to hold them without judgment, and to release them without guilt. And as I move through this day, remind me that emotional healing is not a straight path, but a slow unfolding that you walk with me step by step. Let my heart remain open, even when vulnerability feels risky. Let my thoughts stay steady, even when uncertainty tries to pull me backward. And let this journey continue to shape me into someone who approaches life with clarity, courage, and a quiet confidence that grows from being understood, valued, and held by your unchanging love. Lord, as my heart moves gently from where I last paused, I feel a subtle shift rising within me, like a quiet invitation to look deeper into the spaces I often hurry past. The calm you have been forming in me is still here, resting like a soft layer beneath my thoughts. But now it begins to open into something more reflective, something that urges me to understand why certain places inside me still resist peace. I am aware of emotions that whisper beneath the surface, not painful enough to break me, but persistent enough to remind me they exist. In this early stillness, I bring them to you with the hope that you will help me see beyond what my own understanding can reach. Father, I realize there are moments when doubt rises without warning, shaped not by the present but by echoes from long ago. These small fragments of uneasiness build themselves into beliefs I never meant to hold, convincing me to question my worth, my direction, and even the tenderness of your care. I do not want these quiet distortions to shape my life any longer. I ask you to help me identify them, not with frustration, but with clarity that brings freedom. Let me see which thoughts are rooted in truth and which ones grew from fear. Sometimes I feel as though my mind drifts into places that tire me even when nothing around me has changed. A single memory can pull me back into seasons I have already survived, making me relive reactions I no longer want to carry. Lord, guide me gently away from patterns that drain my strength. Help me retrain my inner world so that my first response is no longer fear or hesitation, but steadiness born from trust. I do not ask for perfection of thought, only for the ability to recognize when my heart needs a softer voice and a calmer perspective. As I sit with these feelings, I become aware of how often I try to solve everything with my own reasoning. I analyze, I replay, I anticipate, hoping that enough thinking will protect me from disappointment or pain. But all it does is leave me wary. Father, Teach me how to rest my mind without abandoning wisdom. Show me how to listen to your guidance in the quiet, where solutions do not come from forcing answers, but from being open to the gentle direction you place inside me. Help me resist the urge to run from uncertainty. If there are questions I cannot solve today, let me hold them loosely without fear. If there are decisions waiting ahead, help me approach them with a grounded spirit instead of a pressured heart. Calm the fear that makes me believe there is only one right path and that I am somehow incapable of finding it. Remind me that you are not standing far ahead, demanding perfection, but walking beside me, shaping clarity one small step at a time. Lord, I ask you to renew the way I perceive myself. There are moments when I am overly critical, moments when I downplay my progress, and moments when I forget that growth is not always loud or visible. Help me recognize the quiet victories I overlook. Help me appreciate the strength it takes just to face the day honestly. Let me see myself the way you see me, capable, valuable, and steadily becoming whole. And as the morning expands, let this be the moment where a new awareness forms within me. Let me notice when my thoughts lean toward fear so I can guide them back to trust. Let me sense when insecurity begins to rise so I can anchor myself in your nearness. Let me observe my inner world with kindness instead of criticism, believing that emotional and spiritual clarity will grow when I stop fighting myself. Father, let this time with you reshape the atmosphere of my mind. Replace tension with softness, confusion with patience, and self-doubt with quiet confidence. Teach me how to lean into your presence not as a distant idea, but as a steady influence that meets me in every thought I bring to you. Let me walk through this day aware of your guidance, open to your gentle direction, and willing to trust the work you are doing within me, even when the progress feels slow. Hold my mind in a place where peace can settle naturally. Let my thoughts move in rhythms that reflect steadiness rather than fear. And let this morning continue to unfold as a reminder that transformation often begins not with dramatic change, but with the calm willingness to believe that my inner world can shift, heal, and grow under your patient care. God, as I continue from the quiet thoughts that settled in me before, I feel another layer within my heart beginning to unfold, as though you are guiding me into a deeper honesty I did not know I was ready for. The reflections of the earlier moments still linger, shaping the way I breathe and the way I listen. There is a gentle awareness forming in me, a sense that you are inviting me to explore parts of my story that have been quiet for too long. Not the painful wounds that once overwhelmed me, but the subtle places where longing, hope, and unspoken dreams have been waiting patiently to be acknowledged. Father, I realize now that some desires in my heart have grown dim, not because they were wrong, but because I became afraid to hope for them again. I tucked them away, convincing myself it was safer not to want too much, not to expect anything beyond what seemed reasonable. Yet this morning, they rise again. Not loudly, but with a soft persistence that makes me pause. Help me recognize these desires without judgment. Let me see them not as weaknesses, but as reminders of the parts of me that still believe in possibility. Sometimes I sense a quiet tension inside me, formed from years of trying to balance responsibility, resilience, and the fear of disappointment. I have carried so many expectations, both spoken and unspoken, that I often forget the simple truth that I am allowed to hope without fearing collapse. Lord, help me release the beliefs that taught me to shrink my dreams. Silence the old voices that told me I should settle, that wanting more was selfish, or that longing itself was dangerous. Let me rediscover the courage to desire goodness with an open heart. As I sit with these thoughts, I notice how deeply I crave renewal in areas I rarely speak about. There are relationships I wish could be restored, opportunities I once hoped to pursue, and inner strengths I long to reclaim. None of these longings come from pride. They come from the desire to live fully, to grow honestly, and to honor the potential you placed within me. Father, guide me as I navigate these quiet dreams. Show me which ones you are awakening and which ones you are gently teaching me to release. Sometimes the confusion lies not in knowing what I want, but in believing that I am worthy of receiving it. There are moments when my confidence wavers, when I question whether I am capable of stepping into something greater than what I have known. Lord, I ask you to replace that hesitation with a steady assurance that does not depend on my perfection, but on your faithful presence. Remind me that worthiness is not earned through flawless choices, but embraced through the willingness to trust your guidance. Help me discern the desires that align with the growth you are shaping within me. If there are dreams that serve my healing, nurture them. If there are longings that lead me away from peace, redirect them gently. If there are hopes that require patience, help me wait without frustration. And if there are opportunities you want me to pursue, give me the clarity and strength to recognize them when they appear. Lord, I ask you to awaken a deeper sense of purpose within me, not a dramatic calling or a sudden revelation, but a quiet understanding that my life is moving toward something meaningful. Let my choices reflect the person I am becoming. Let my desires reflect the transformation happening within me. And let my steps align with a future shaped not by fear, but by quiet courage. As I lean into these reflections, settle my heart so that I do not rush ahead in anxiety or cling too tightly to what I think must happen. Teach me to move with grace, trusting that the right doors will open in their appointed time. Replace impatience with calm expectation, and uncertainty with the gentle assurance that nothing good is ever lost in your hands. Father, let this moment be where hope rises quietly but firmly within me. Let it remind me that longing is not a sign of weakness, but of life. Let it guide me into a deeper trust that you are awakening what is meant to flourish and releasing what no longer belongs. As I continue forward, keep my spirit open, steady, and ready for whatever goodness you are preparing to unfold in my life. Father, as my thoughts move gently from where I last rested, I feel a quiet openness forming inside me, like a slow unfolding that invites me to look at parts of my heart I have not examined in a long time. The reflections from earlier still linger, shaping the way I breathe and the way I notice what is stirring within me. It feels as though you are guiding me toward a deeper understanding of the things I often ignore. especially the small disappointments and silent discouragements that gather over time and settle into corners I rarely acknowledge. Lord, I bring to you the moments that have left subtle marks on my confidence, not dramatic wounds or loud heartbreaks, but the quieter experiences that chipped away at my certainty without my noticing. Times when I felt overlooked, times when effort went unseen, times when I reached for something good and watched it slip away before I could grasp it. These experiences have shaped the way I approach new opportunities, making me cautious, hesitant, and sometimes unwilling to believe that good things can unfold for me as easily as they seem to for others. Help me confront these patterns without shame. I do not want to live guarded, shrinking myself out of fear of disappointment. I long to move through life with steadiness, not with the constant expectation that something will go wrong. Show me how to release the subtle heaviness that has settled over my hope. Teach me how to rebuild trust in the possibility of good outcomes, not because everything must go perfectly, but because you are present in every step I take. Father, help me rediscover the courage to try again. There are dreams I have paused, goals I have placed on hold, and paths I stepped away from because I feared one more attempt might break me. But somewhere inside me, a small spark still flickers, telling me that I am not done growing, not done reaching, not done becoming who I was meant to be. Strengthen that spark. Nurture it. Let it rise into something steady enough to guide me through the uncertainties ahead. I admit that fear often disguises itself as practicality. I convince myself that I am simply being realistic, that lowering expectations protects me from pain. But deep down, I know that fear limits me more than it shields me. Lord, show me how to distinguish wisdom from avoidance. Help me make choices from clarity, not from the remnants of old hurts. Let me recognize when fear is trying to speak louder than your encouragement. As I sit with these thoughts, I become aware of how much I desire a deeper sense of direction, not a detailed roadmap or a perfect plan, but a quiet assurance that the steps I take are leading somewhere meaningful. Remind me that direction is often revealed gradually, through small insights, gentle nudges, and subtle confirmations that appear when I am paying attention. Help me recognize those signs. Give me a heart that listens without rushing and trusts without forcing outcomes. Lord, renew my willingness to move forward even when the path is unclear. Replace hesitation with quiet bravery. Replace self-doubt with grounded confidence. Replace the habit of expecting disappointment with the openness to receive unexpected grace. Let my expectations shift from fear of what might go wrong to hope in what you might unfold. Teach me to hold my plans loosely, not because they are unimportant, but because I want to leave room for you to shape them. If there are paths that no longer belong to me, help me release them without bitterness. If there are opportunities aligned with the person I am becoming, let me recognize them without fear. And if there are new beginnings waiting ahead, give me the courage to step toward them with a steady heart. Father, let this moment be where resilience begins to take root within me in a new way. Not the kind that forces strength through pressure, but the kind that grows from hope, clarity, and gentle confidence. Let it remind me that it is not too late to dream again, not too late to move forward, and not too late to trust that you are shaping my story with care. As this morning deepens, help me walk into the day with a renewed sense of possibility. Let my spirit stay open, my mind stay steady, and my heart remain willing to believe that growth is not behind me, but still unfolding. Let this be the hour where a quieter, stronger courage rises in me, guiding my steps with the assurance that I am not walking alone, and that every attempt to rebuild is held in your gentle hands. Lord, as my thoughts move gently from the place where I last paused, I feel a new awareness settling inside me, like a quiet reminder that there are still deeper layers waiting to be understood. The reflections from earlier continue shaping my heart, guiding me slowly toward a softer understanding of myself. It feels as though you are inviting me to look at the areas where I have been holding tension without even realizing it, the subtle places where pressure, expectations, and silent comparisons have been weighing on my spirit far longer than I intended. Father, I bring to you the heaviness that comes from constantly feeling like I must measure up, not to the world, not to the expectations of others, but to the unrealistic standards I place on myself. I often expect myself to be stronger, calmer, more resilient, more disciplined, and more capable than I truly feel. And when I fall short of these impossible expectations, disappointment settles over me like a shadow I cannot shake. Help me release this burden gently. Show me how to walk without carrying the pressure to be more than human. There are moments when I move through the day feeling as though I must earn worth through productivity or prove value through perfection. These habits formed slowly, shaped by experiences where failure felt costly or being overlooked felt painful. But I no longer want to live in constant evaluation. Lord, help me let go of the need to perform. Let me find peace in simply being present, honest, and willing rather than flawless. Teach me to honor my limits without treating them as shortcomings. As I reflect on these patterns, I begin to notice how deeply I have tied my self-worth to outcomes. When things go well, I feel steady. When they slip beyond my control, I struggle to believe I am enough. Father, gently untangle this belief from my heart. Remind me that my identity is not defined by success or failure, not measured by applause or silence, but formed in the quiet truth that I am cared for even when nothing around me goes the way I imagined. Lord, show me how to rest in the assurance that I do not need to prove myself to you. Help me understand that your love is not something I must earn, achieve, or maintain by effort. Let this realization calm the part of me that fears being a disappointment. Let it soften the self-criticism that rises when I fall short. Help me internalize the truth that I am valued not because of what I do, but because of who I am becoming under your gentle guidance. I also bring to you the sense of comparison that sometimes creeps into my heart. Even when I do not want it, I find myself looking at the paths of others and feeling as though mine is somehow less meaningful. I know these comparisons drain my energy and distort my vision. They distract me from the growth happening quietly within me. Father, help me turn my attention inward, not in selfishness, but in clarity. Teach me to celebrate progress without measuring it against anyone else's journey. Let me see my path as unique, shaped with intention, unfolding at a pace that is right for me. Help me trust that even when my progress feels slow or hidden, it is still real. Remind me that transformation is often subtle, formed in quiet shifts, steady steps, and small decisions to choose hope over doubt. Let me hold on to these truths when I feel tempted to diminish my own growth. Lord, teach me how to honor the present moment without rushing toward the next. I often treat life like a series of checkpoints, believing I must reach a certain place before I am allowed to rest or feel proud. But this leaves me constantly unsettled, unable to appreciate where I am. Help me practice being here, fully awake to what you are shaping in me today. Let the weight of unrealistic timelines fall away. Replace urgency with patience, and replace pressure with gentle rhythm. Father, let this be the moment when I begin to release the burdens I placed on myself without realizing their cost. Let me step into a softer way of living, one that does not demand perfection, but encourages growth, honesty, and steady courage. Let it remind me that you are not asking for flawless performance. You are asking for a willing heart. As this morning deepens, help me walk forward with a spirit that is less burdened, less critical, and more compassionate toward my own journey. Let this be the hour where I begin to see myself not through the lens of expectation, but through the quiet truth that I am enough, and I am becoming, and I am held every step of the way. God, as I move softly from the last thoughts that settled in me, I feel a new calm spreading through the quieter parts of my heart, like a gentle shift reminding me that there is still more within me waiting to be understood. The reflections you have been guiding me through continue to open new spaces inside me, encouraging me to pay attention to feelings I once pushed aside. There is a sense that you are inviting me to look at the ways I protect myself, the subtle defenses I formed without knowing, and the habits that kept me from feeling deeply because I feared what depth might reveal. Lord, I bring to you the ways I have learned to distance myself from emotion, not out of indifference, but out of fear. There were times when closeness felt risky, when vulnerability seemed too fragile a place to stand, and when allowing myself to feel fully seemed like an invitation for disappointment. These patterns shape the way I connect with others, and even the way I approach my own heart. I no longer want to live guarded. Help me ease out of these old instinctive reactions with gentleness, not force. There are moments when I notice myself holding back joy, as though embracing goodness too eagerly might cause it to disappear. I feel myself tensing around happiness, trying to pick it apart before it settles, afraid that trusting it will lead to loss. Father, help me release this fear. Show me how to receive joy without suspicion, to allow simple beauty to rest within me without questioning whether I deserve it. Let me learn to welcome moments of light without preparing for shadows. I also bring to you the hesitations that surface when I am offered kindness. Sometimes kindness feels unfamiliar, and I respond with caution, unsure whether it is genuine or temporary. I have learned to brace myself, to stay half-guarded, even in safe places. But I do not want to remain distant from warmth. Lord, Teach me how to accept gentleness without fear, how to let encouragement sink into me instead of brushing it away. Let kindness become something I can trust without analyzing its motives. As I reflect on these truths, I begin to see how much of my inner world is shaped by old experiences that no longer define my present. Not everything I fear is still real. Not every assumption I make is still true. Help me recognize when my reactions come from the past rather than the present. Give me the clarity to distinguish between old wounds and current reality. Let me step into this moment with awareness rather than automatic defensiveness. Father, help me grow comfortable with emotional honesty, not dramatic expression, but simple truthfulness about what I feel and why. Teach me to acknowledge sadness without shame, excitement without restraint, and tenderness without fear of being misunderstood. Let me embrace the full range of my emotions as part of being human, not as evidence of weakness. I also ask you to help me build healthier boundaries, not walls that shut others out, but pathways that allow connection without overwhelming me. Show me how to guard my heart without closing it, how to remain open while still honoring my limits. Let this balance guide the way I relate to others and the way I relate to myself. Lord, restore my ability to feel deeply without becoming lost in the intensity. Let my emotions become something I can navigate rather than something I fear. Give me the steady confidence to allow feelings to rise and pass, trusting that none of them can destroy me when I face them with honesty and your presence beside me. Let emotional strength grow in me through gentleness rather than suppression. Teach me to trust the process of opening up. Help me see vulnerability not as a risk, but as a space where connection can flourish. Replace the instinct to withdraw with the willingness to remain present. Even when emotions are strong, let me find comfort in knowing that I no longer face these inner experiences alone. Father, let this be the morning when I learn to let down the defenses that once protected me, but now confine me. Let it mark the quiet shift where I begin to allow myself to feel without fear, to connect without bracing, and to trust without shrinking away. As I continue forward, guide me gently into a deeper emotional wholeness, helping me carry every feeling with steadiness, grace, and the assurance that I am safe within your care. Father, as I continue from the quiet truth I reached before, I feel another gentle shift stirring within me, like a soft invitation to explore a part of my heart that I often overlook. The reflections of the earlier moments linger in the back of my mind, guiding me slowly toward an understanding I did not know I needed. It feels as though you are leading me to recognize areas where I have been carrying unspoken pressure, the weight of being responsible for things that were never mine to hold so tightly. Lord, I bring to you the silent burdens I placed on myself without realizing their cost. There are moments when I feel responsible for the emotions of others, for their reactions, their disappointments, and their expectations. I have tried to manage situations beyond my control, as if peace depended entirely on my effort. This has left me exhausted, stretched thin by obligations I never voiced but constantly carried. Help me see these patterns clearly. Help me release what does not belong to me. There have been times when I felt the need to keep everything together, to hold myself steady even when inside I was wary. I learned to appear composed because I feared that showing my own struggles would create inconvenience or worry for those around me. But the weight of maintaining strength without rest has taken a quiet toll. Father, teach me how to lay down this constant responsibility. Show me that I am allowed to be human, allowed to pause, allowed to breathe. Lord, help me recognize the difference between compassion and self-sacrifice. I want to care for others without losing myself in the process. I want to offer support without carrying burdens that were never mine to hold. Teach me how to love deeply without absorbing every weight around me. Let empathy become a gift, not a source of exhaustion. Help me honor my own needs as much as I honor the needs of others. As I sit with these thoughts, I notice how often I have tried to fix situations that were never within my control. I replay conversations, revisit decisions, and rehearse scenarios, hoping to prevent misunderstandings or avoid conflict. These habits have been driven not by selfishness, but by a desire for peace. Yet peace built on fear is fragile. Show me how to pursue peace rooted in truth rather than in overextension. Father, remind me that I am not responsible for every outcome. Help me accept that I cannot manage the hearts of others, cannot prevent disappointment, cannot orchestrate perfect harmony. Free me from the belief that I must carry everything alone. Let me find comfort in the truth that you are present in spaces where my control ends. Let me trust that I can release the burdens that overfill my hands without feeling that I am failing. I also bring to you the fatigue that comes from always being the one who understands, the one who adjusts, the one who absorbs more than I express. I do not resent these qualities, but I long for balance. Teach me how to voice my limits with gentleness and clarity. Help me step into relationships where my heart is allowed to rest as much as it is allowed to give. Lord, renew the boundaries I have let slip over time. Show me how to protect the quiet places within myself without feeling guilt. Let me walk with confidence that saying no does not make me unkind, and asking for space does not make me distant. Help me recognize that emotional sustainability grows from balance, not from self-neglect. As these realizations settle, I feel a small but steady release inside me, a sense that I no longer have to hold everything together alone. A sense that the world will not collapse if I let go of responsibilities that were never mine. A sense that I can breathe without apologizing for needing rest. Father, let this relief grow into wisdom. Let it become a new pattern of living, one shaped not by constant pressure, but by grounded peace. Lord, let this morning mark a gentle turning point. Let it be the moment I learn to loosen my grip on realistic responsibility and step into a healthier rhythm. Let it remind me that I am allowed to rest, allowed to ask for help, allowed to prioritize the well-being of my own heart without guilt. As I move forward, guide me into relationships and decisions that honor both compassion and balance, helping me grow into a version of myself that is steady, wholehearted, and free to live without carrying unnecessary weight. Lord, as my thoughts continue from the quiet realization I reached before, I sense a new stillness forming within me, like a soft breath reminding me there are parts of my heart I have not yet had the courage to explore. The layers you have been gently unfolding guide me into a space where I can finally look at the deeper awareness I have been carrying. The kind that does not shout for attention, but quietly shapes the way I move through my days. It feels as though you are inviting me to acknowledge the inner fatigue I have ignored for far too long. Father, I bring to you the exhaustion that sits beneath my calm exterior. It is not the kind cured by sleep or rest, but the quiet tiredness that comes from years of holding myself together, navigating challenges silently, and carrying emotions I rarely allow myself to process. This exhaustion grows in the spaces where I tell myself to be strong, to be composed, to be steady for the sake of others. Help me bring honesty into these hidden places. Let me rest not only in body, but in spirit. There have been days when I pushed through heaviness because it felt easier than slowing down long enough to feel it. I kept moving, kept working, kept pretending I was fine, hoping that motion alone would be enough to silence the tiredness within me. But the weight remains, reminding me that I cannot outrun what needs healing. Lord, guide me gently toward acknowledging this awareness without judgment. Help me understand that admitting fatigue is not weakness, but honesty. Teach me how to replenish the part of me that has been running on strain and habit. Show me how to nourish my inner world with compassion instead of criticism. Help me learn rhythms of renewal that allow me to breathe instead of pushing myself to operate beyond my limits. Let restoration grow quietly within me, like a calm river smoothing the stones it passes over. Father, I also bring to you the emotional tiredness that comes from carrying unspoken griefs, not only losses, but disappointments, endings, changes, and seasons that shifted without giving me time to adjust. These small griefs accumulate gently, settling in the corners of my heart where I thought had moved on. Help me name them. Help me release the tears I never cried, the goodbyes I never allowed myself to acknowledge, and the transitions I minimized because I needed to appear strong. Let this be a place where healing begins slowly but surely. Let me feel safe enough to let old sadness rise without fearing it will overtake me. Remind me that grief, when allowed to breathe, becomes lighter over time. Let my heart learn that emotional release is not a setback, but a step toward wholeness. Lord, renew my sense of inner balance. There are parts of me that feel stretched thin, parts that feel numb from trying too hard, and parts that feel disconnected from the joy I used to find naturally. Restore the quiet enthusiasm that once gave color to my days. Bring back the small sparks of interest and curiosity that make life feel more than routine. Teach me to welcome stillness as a place of healing rather than a reminder of emptiness. Help me reconnect with the version of myself that knew how to find meaning in simple moments. Show me how to rediscover small joys without forcing them. Let gratitude grow gently, not as an obligation, but as a natural response to noticing goodness again. Help me see light in places I overlooked because I was too tired to notice. Father, remind me that renewal is not always immediate. It comes through steady tenderness, patient rebuilding, and quiet openness to change. Teach me to be gentle with myself as I heal from this inner fatigue. Let me understand that progress does not always look bold. Sometimes it looks like breathing a little easier than before. As this morning unfolds, let this be the moment when I begin to let go of the tiredness that has settled too deeply in my soul. Let it be the moment when I choose to rest internally rather than simply endure. Let it remind me that I am allowed to replenish, allowed to slow down, allowed to restore the parts of me that have carried too much for too long. Lord, guide me into a steadier, more compassionate way of living. Help me step forward with a heart that feels lighter, a mind that feels clearer, and a spirit that feels capable of embracing hope again. Let this be the hour when renewal begins to gently take root, leading me into a deeper sense of peace, balance, and inner strength. Father, as my heart moves gently from the stillness I reached before, I feel a new awareness rising, as if you are guiding me toward a place within myself that has remained dim for far too long. It is not a painful place, nor one filled with fear, but rather a quiet corner where I have stored the parts of my identity that I hesitated to embrace. These pieces of me have waited patiently, hoping to be acknowledged, hoping to be seen without the weight of doubt or hesitation. This morning feels like an invitation to rediscover them. Lord, I bring to you the parts of myself I learned to downplay, the strengths I minimized because I feared drawing attention to them, the ideas I dismissed because they seemed too bold for someone like me, the talents I kept tucked away because using them felt risky. Even the inner voice that once whispered confidence slowly faded, not because it was untrue, but because I convinced myself that humility meant shrinking rather than standing fully in what you placed inside me. Help me reclaim these pieces with gentleness. There have been moments when I questioned whether I had anything valuable to offer, times when I silenced my own thoughts, believing that others were wiser or stronger, times when I stepped aside because speaking up felt intimidating. Father, help me release the belief that my presence must be small in order to keep peace. Teach me that humility is not hiding, but honoring the gifts you have woven into my being. I bring to you the uncertainty that rises when I consider stepping into a fuller version of myself. There is a layer of hesitation shaped by past experiences, by times when effort went unnoticed or when boldness led to misunderstanding. These memories have caused me to second-guess myself, to approach opportunities with caution instead of confidence. Lord, help me untangle these memories gently. Let me see them as chapters, not definitions. Show me how to recognize my abilities without shrinking away. Help me develop them without comparison. Teach me to walk with a quiet assurance that comes not from pride, but from gratitude. Let me embrace the truth that I am allowed to grow, allowed to excel, allowed to become someone who steps forward without apology. Father, guide me into deeper clarity about who I am becoming. Reveal the strengths that have been forming quietly beneath the surface. Bring to light the qualities that have matured through years of perseverance and endurance. Let me see how resilience has shaped my character, how compassion has softened my responses, and how experience has refined my understanding. Help me celebrate these developments without fear. Lord, I also bring to you the identity I have outgrown. There are versions of myself that no longer fit, roles I held onto because they once felt safe, and patterns I repeated simply because they were familiar. But growth often requires release. Help me let go of the identities that no longer reflect the person you are shaping within me. Let me loosen my grip on old narratives so new ones can unfold. Teach me to welcome change not as a threat, but as a sign that I am evolving. Help me trust that transformation is part of the journey. Even when it feels uncertain, let me understand that stepping into who I am meant to be does not erase what I have been, but honors the journey that brought me here. As these realizations settle, I feel a gentle stirring inside me, a sense of possibility, as though you are awakening aspects of my identity that have been dormant, not with pressure, but with quiet encouragement, with a reminder that I do not need permission to grow, with an assurance that becoming more fully myself aligns with the purpose you have placed within me. Father, let this morning be the turning point where I begin to embrace my identity with honesty and courage. Let it mark the moment when I stop viewing my strengths as burdens or my voice as an intrusion. Let it be the hour when I start stepping into my life with presence rather than hesitation. Help me walk forward today with a clearer sense of who I am and who I am becoming. Let confidence rise not from pride, but from alignment. Let purpose unfold not from pressure, but from truth. And let this journey continue shaping me into someone who stands gently but firmly in the person you have always known me to be. Father, as my thoughts continue to unfold from the stillness of the previous moment, I sense a deeper shift happening quietly within me. It is not loud or dramatic, yet as it carries a clarity I cannot ignore. It feels like a gentle unveiling of strength that has been present all along but remained hidden beneath layers of fear and hesitation. Now, as I breathe slowly and allow this morning light to settle into my spirit, I recognize that this strength is not something I must chase. It rises naturally when I stop resisting the truth you keep placing before me. I have come from places of weariness and doubt, yet something inside is learning to stand with a steadier posture. And as I lean into this awareness, I feel the fog in my mind lifting one quiet layer at a time. I confess that there were seasons when thoughts rushed through me like storms, shaking every sense of balance. I tried to outrun them, silence them, bury them under distractions I believed would numb the ache. But none of those things ever gave me peace. They only scattered me further. Today, as I pause before you, I feel you gathering the scattered pieces of my mind, reminding me that clarity does not come from striving, but from yielding to your presence. My thoughts do not have to be perfect for you to guide them. They only need to be honest. And so I offer every restless corner of my inner world to you, asking that you steady what trembles and soften what has grown rigid. In this stillness, I begin to realize that strength is not proven in how loudly I fight my battles. It is found in the quiet trust that you walk with me, even when I cannot see the next step. It is in the slow rebuilding of courage after the heart has been stretched thin. It is in the willingness to begin again when I feel uncertain. Father, help me receive this kind of strength, the kind that grows at a steady pace, not rushed or fragile, but rooted in something lasting. I do not want the strength that merely hides my fear. I long for the strength that transforms it. I ask that you shape my thoughts so they no longer wander into places that drain me. Remove the echoes that cling to old wounds, the whispers that tell me I am not enough, the shadows that attempt to pull me backward, just when I am learning to move forward. Replace them with thoughts anchored in hope, thoughts that allow me to breathe without the weight of yesterday pressing against my chest. Teach me to recognize the difference between the noise of fear and the voice of quiet wisdom you plant within me. As I sit in this unfolding clarity, I remember moments when your guidance appeared in subtle ways I did not understand at the time. A calm feeling that arrived in the middle of panic, a sense of reassurance when circumstances were uncertain, a gentle pause that stopped me from speaking words of frustration. These were not coincidences. They were small signs of your steady hand, shaping my inner world even when I did not ask for it. Now, I want to be more aware of these moments, more receptive to the wisdom they carry. Help me notice the quiet ways you redirect my thoughts before they lead me astray. Father, let my mind become a place where peace is not temporary, but continually renewed. Let it be a place where I no longer battle myself, where my worries lose their grip, and where hope grows stronger than fear. Give me the courage to let go of patterns that keep me trapped in cycles of doubt. Let my thoughts rise toward what is good, true, and life-giving. And when confusion tries to return, remind me gently that I do not walk alone. That clarity is a gift you offer again and again. As this inner strength awakens, I feel myself stepping into a quieter confidence, not built on my own abilities, but on the assurance that you sustain me, even when I falter, even when I question, even when my mind feels scattered. Your presence remains constant. And because of that constancy, I can trust the unfolding of this day. I can trust the steps I will take, the words I will speak, the decisions I will face. I can trust that my mind is being renewed, reshaped, and aligned with a deeper purpose. And so I rest in this truth, letting it settle into me like a slow dawning light that expands gently across the horizon, calling me forward with quiet certainty. God, in this quiet moment, I continue from the stillness that settled upon my heart earlier, letting the calm you placed within me deepen into something steadier, something I can lean on when my thoughts begin to tremble again. I come to you not with a shout, but with a slow breath, the kind that clears a path inside me so I can sense the gentleness you have been shaping since the first light entered my morning. I do not pretend that every fear has vanished, or that every question has found its answer. But I feel the weight shifting little by little as I allow your presence to surround the parts of me that once hid from any kind of warmth. The truth is, I have spent so much of my life trying to stand firm on my own strength, unaware of how brittle it becomes when pressure rises. And I now recognize how badly I need the grounding only you can give. Lord, there is something sacred about this slow surrender, this learning to place one step at a time in the direction of faith, rather than panic. My heart no longer races with the same frantic rhythm it carried through seasons of fear, and instead it beats with the quiet insistence that there is a way forward even when I cannot see it. You remind me through these soft impressions that trust does not always arrive as a bold declaration, but often as a fragile seed, planted deep, nurtured through stillness until it grows into a shelter I never knew could be mine. I hold on to that image because it mirrors my own journey, a long stretch of uncertainty slowly transforming into clarity as your voice draws me toward steadiness. Father, as I continue to breathe in the peace you place before me, I ask for the courage to stay anchored when the world around me begins to move too fast. I know how easily I drift back into old habits of carrying burdens meant to be released, how naturally I return to worry even after I have tasted your calm. Teach me to pause before anxiety claims the corners of my mind, to remember the softness you introduced to my spirit in moments when I thought I would break under pressure. Let this chapter of my journey be marked not constant fear, but by a growing ability to rest in the assurance that you do not abandon me in confusion, but walk with me through the very shadows that once silenced me. Lord, when memories rise unexpectedly and remind me of past wounds, I pray that you guide me gently back to the present, where you are already at work. Help me to understand that healing is not linear, that some days may feel heavier than others, yet none of them are wasted when I place them in your hands. Let the echoes of old pain lose their grip as new patterns of trust take shape within me, molding my reactions, reshaping the story I tell myself about my worth and my future. I want to see myself with clearer eyes, not through the distortions of fear, but through the grace that you have been weaving into my days even when I did not recognize it. God, I ask for the strength to keep returning to this quiet space where I feel closest to you, even when distractions pull at me with urgency. Let me remember that the peace I seek is not found in the noise of constant striving, but in the steady rhythm of choosing you again and again. Let my confidence grow not from immediate answers, but from the deep assurance that you are guiding me even in silence. And as I continue forward, let this expanding trust become a light that illuminates each decision, each step, each moment where I must choose between fear and faith. God, as I continue moving from the steady trust you began awakening within me, I feel a new stirring rising quietly beneath the surface of my thoughts, something gentle yet unmistakably alive. It feels like the soft return of breath after a long, exhausting climb, a reminder that the soul can expand again, even after seasons where it felt compressed by pressures too heavy to name. I come into this moment aware that something within me is shifting, not with dramatic force, but with a calm insistence that renewal is possible even in places I once believed were permanently dimmed. There's a tenderness growing around the edges of my heart, the kind that suggests you are not simply steadying me, but beginning to restore parts of me that I had forgotten were meant to feel whole. Lord, I sense you inviting me to peel back the layers I built for protection, the walls constructed from old fears and past betrayals, asking me to let light slip through the narrow gaps I left untouched for so long. I do not want to rush this process or pretend that openness comes easily, but I am willing to move one slow breath at a time, if it means learning how to live without always bracing for disappointment. There is something freeing about acknowledging how fragile I once felt, and realizing that fragility is not a flaw but a doorway through which your strength has been entering. I notice how my mind no longer clings to every anxious possibility and instead begins to soften around the hope that healing can take root in places long overlooked. Father, as this renewal unfolds gently, I ask for the clarity to see what you are restoring in me. Let me recognize the quiet shifts moments when my reactions change, when my thoughts become kinder toward myself, when I resist the urge to rush into fear. Teach me to celebrate the progress I often dismiss, the tiny steps that seem insignificant until I look back and realize how far I have actually come. I want to embrace the truth that transformation does not always announce itself with spectacle. Sometimes it arrives in whispers, in small victories, in the courage to try again, even after failure has taught me to shrink away. Lord, there are areas of my life that still feel tangled, places where I remain uncertain, hesitant, or wary. I bring them to you without trying to hide the messiness, trusting that you see potential where I only see disorder. Let your renewing presence enter those corners with patience, not pressure. Allow me to release old patterns that once promised safety, but now only keep me tied to cycles I no longer want to relive. Give me the courage to replace them with habits shaped by grace, compassion, and steadiness, so that who I am becoming will stand on a foundation built from your truth and not from the echoes of past fears. God, I am learning that renewal is not simply about feeling better. It is about becoming someone who can carry peace into places that once provoked fear, someone who moves with intention, someone who trusts enough to open their heart again. I ask that you continue guiding this inner transformation with the same gentleness you have shown in every step leading here. Let me hold on to the assurance that I am not alone in this process, that your hands are still shaping, still steadying, still calling me toward a life broader than the one I imagined while trying to survive old wounds. And as I keep surrendering layer after layer, let the renewing work you are doing become the quiet strength that carries me into whatever comes next. God, as I continue moving from the renewal you stirred within me, I feel a deeper strength forming quietly beneath everything I have been learning to release. It is not the fierce, loud strength I once thought I needed, the kind that demanded constant toughness and refused to admit weakness. Instead, it feels like something patient, grounded, and steady, a strength that does not shout but stands firm in silence. I sense it rising slowly, shaped not by ambition or self-defense, but by the gentle work you have been doing in the hidden corners of my heart. There is a new stability taking root, one built from honesty, surrender, and the surprising freedom that comes when I stop pretending I can carry everything alone. Lord, I once believed that true strength meant never shaking, never bending, never letting anyone see the cracks beneath the surface. But you are showing me that real strength grows in the places where I let myself be vulnerable, where I admit I do not have all the answers, where I choose trust over pride. This shift feels both unfamiliar and deeply comforting, as if I am finally learning a language my soul has been trying to speak for years. I no longer feel the same pressure to stand unmovable in every storm. Instead, I feel your presence becoming the anchor, allowing me to sway without falling, to breathe without fear of collapsing. Father, I am beginning to recognize the quiet ways you fortify me. Sometimes it arrives as clarity in a single unexpected thought. Sometimes as a calm that settles into my chest without warning. And sometimes through the simple awareness that I am held even when my circumstances remain unchanged. These moments help me understand that strength is not something I achieve, but something you cultivate within me over time. Let this growing resilience shape how I respond to challenges, how I walk through uncertainty, and how I speak to my own heart when doubt attempts to settle in again. Lord, there are areas where I still feel fragile, places where old fears cling tightly and try to convince me that I am not capable of moving forward. In those moments, I ask that you remind me of how far you have already carried me. Help me remember that strength is not measured by how loudly I declare my confidence, by how consistently I return to you when I feel unsure. Guide me to rely not on my own limited power, but on the steady reassurance that you are present in every quiet step I take. Let me learn to recognize your nearness even in silence, trusting that you are shaping something strong and enduring within me. God, as I continue walking this path, I pray that this emerging strength becomes a source of peace rather than pressure. A reminder that I am not responsible for manufacturing courage on my own. Allow this inner fortitude to guide my decisions, soften my reactions, and quiet the voices that insist I must prove myself to be worthy. Let this strength be marked by humility, compassion, and the steady awareness that I am held by a love that does not falter. And as it grows deeper within me, let it become a foundation for the life you are preparing ahead. A life not fueled by fear or exhaustion, but rooted in the confidence that comes from knowing I do not walk alone. God, as this quiet strength continues to take form within me, I notice how it begins to color even the smallest moments of my day. Things that once unsettled me no longer carry the same weight, as if your presence gently shifts my perspective before fear has a chance to settle in. I find myself breathing more steadily, responding with more calm than I expected, and recognizing that these changes are not accidents, but signs of the work you are patiently unfolding in the background of my life. It amazes me how transformation often begins long before I become aware of it, and by the time I finally notice, it has already begun to soften my reactions and lighten the burdens I once carried so tightly. Lord, this emerging strength does not erase every struggle, but it helps me walk through them with a steadier heart. I feel you teaching me to pause before panic rises, to lean into truth before old fear takes hold, to remember that I am supported even when my path feels unclear. Each time I choose trust over worry, it feels like another layer of my former self is gently being released, replaced by something quieter and more grounded. I am learning that strength is not a shield I must hold up endlessly. Instead, it is a steady confidence that grows each time I recognize your hand guiding me through what once overwhelmed me. Father, I ask that you continue shaping this inner resilience in ways I cannot manufacture on my own. Let it be the kind of strength that moves with grace rather than force, the kind that remains soft enough to feel yet firm enough to endure. I want to walk into every day with a heart rooted in your steadiness, trusting that even when I do not see the full path ahead, you are already preparing it with purpose and care. Let this strength expand quietly, influencing my choices, reshaping my patterns, and allowing me to meet each moment with humility, compassion, and faith. God, as I yield more of myself to this process, I realize that strength formed in your presence is unlike anything the world teaches. It does not demand perfection or constant certainty. It does not require me to pretend or perform. Instead, it invites me to show up honestly, acknowledging both my limits and your endless ability to meet me within them. And in that honesty, I discover a foundation that cannot be shaken. A place where courage grows, not through effort, but through connection with you. Let that connection deepen with every breath, guiding me toward the person becoming under your gentle, steadying hand. God, as I step forward from the strength you have been forming quietly within me, I find myself entering a calmer place. One where the noise around me no longer dictates the rhythm inside my heart. Feels as though you are guiding me into a deeper kind of rest. Not simply the absence of stress, but a peace that settles in places I once believed would always remain unsettled. This peace does not arrive loudly. It drifts in like a soft breeze at the edges of dawn. Barely noticeable at first, yet unmistakable once I pause long enough to feel its steady presence. I see now that rest is not just a pause from struggle, but a gift you give when I stop forcing myself to carry battles that belong in your hands. Not mine, Lord. For so long I believed rest had to be earned, as if peace was a reward reserved for moments when I managed life without faltering. But you are showing me another way, a peace that meets me even in the middle of unfinished questions, a rest that exists not because everything is perfect, but because you are present. I sense you untying the knots of restlessness I once carried so tightly, loosening the grip of old anxieties that whispered, I must always stay alert to avoid disappointment. You are teaching me that I do not need to brace myself for impact every time my circumstances shift, because your steadiness holds me even when life feels unpredictable. Father, I ask you to help me lean into this peace without hesitation. I do not want to rush past the calm you offer, treat it as a moment that will quickly vanish. Teach me to breathe deeply in your presence, to allow the heaviness in my chest to dissolve under the quiet reassurance that I am safe, even when the world around me feels uncertain. Let this rest reach the parts of me that still cling to tension out of habit, the places that have forgotten how to relax because they spent so long believing they needed to stay guarded. Wrap me in the kind of peace that does not depend on circumstances, but flows from the simple truth that you are near. Lord, there are thoughts that still wander when I wish they would settle, worries that try to rise when I begin to slow down, and memories that echo at inconvenient moments. When these things surface, guide me gently back to the calm you are forming within me. Remind me that rest is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of trust. That by choosing to sit in your presence, I am choosing to release what I cannot control. Let my mind become a place where clarity can grow, where I no longer replay every fear, but instead return to your steady whisper reminding me that I am held. Understood? and protected. God, let this peace become the atmosphere I carry into the rest of my day, shaping how I respond, how I speak, how I think, and how I walk through every situation that awaits me. Let it soften the edges of my heart, replacing tension with openness, exhaustion with renewal, and fear with quiet assurance. And as this rest settles deeper within me, let it be a reminder that I am learning to live not from panic or pressure, but from the calm that comes when I trust the one who guides every step I take. God, as this gentle peace continues to settle over me, I begin to notice how it shifts the way I see even the smallest details of my day. The worries that once rushed in the moment I woke now seem to pause at the edge of my thoughts, as if unsure whether they still have a home inside me. I feel you teaching me that rest is not an escape from responsibility, but a new way of carrying myself through every responsibility I face. With each quiet breath, I sense my heart softening, my mind clearing, and my spirit becoming more open to the subtle guidance you plant within moments I once hurried past. Lord, what surprises me the most is how this peace feels delicate and resilient. It does not demand attention, yet it remains unshaken when challenges arise. It is as though you have placed a calm center within me, a place I can return to whenever the world presses in too closely. This calm does not silence every question, but it steadies me enough to hear wisdom that fear once drowned out. I begin to understand that peace is not a finish line, but a companion along the way, something that grows each time I choose to release control and acknowledge my need for you. Father, I ask that you teach me to nurture this peace with intention when distractions try to pull me away. Remind me that I do not need to chase after them when old patterns resurface and attempt to reclaim space in my heart. Help me remember the rest you have already begun to cultivate within me. Let this inner stillness anchor me when I face conversations that make me uneasy, decisions that feel overwhelming, or moments where unexpected emotions rise without warning. Let me return to the assurance that your presence is my refuge and that I do not have to navigate these moments alone. Lord, there are days when rest feels distant, when fatigue settles into my bones more quickly than usual, and when doubt tries to convince me that peace is temporary. On those days, guide me gently back to the truth that your calm is not fragile, nor does it disappear when life becomes difficult. Help me recognize that even the smallest turning of my heart toward you is enough for peace to find its way back to me. Let me cling not to the idea of perfection, but to the quiet confidence that you remain near, even when my thoughts feel scattered or my emotions feel heavy. God, I pray that this growing rest becomes a source of clarity. Let it shape my perspectives, so I can see situations not through the lens of fear, but through the steadiness you provide. Let it guide my responses, so I speak with patience rather than frustration. Let it influence my steps, so I move thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. And as this peace becomes more deeply rooted within me, let it remind me that I am learning to live from a place of trust, not tension, a place where your presence becomes the atmosphere I carry into every part of my day. God, as the quiet rest you have poured into my heart continues to settle deeper, I begin to sense something new rising within the stillness, something like a soft awakening that unfolds slowly with each breath I take. It is not dramatic or overwhelming. Rather, it feels like the subtle opening of a window in a room I did not realize had been closed for so long. Through that opening comes a fresh awareness, a gentle clarity that touches places inside me that had grown dull from worry and distraction. I find myself noticing your guidance not as a loud command, but as a quiet nudge, a tender whisper that invites me to pay attention to what my hurried mind once overlooked. Lord, this awakening feels like the beginning of understanding how you speak beneath the noise of my own thoughts. There are moments when a sudden calm settles upon me for no clear reason, moments when a thought filled with wisdom surfaces before I can form it, moments when a heaviness lifts unexpectedly, reminding me that you are shaping my steps even when I am unaware. I am learning that your guidance is rarely about forcing a direction. It is about opening my heart enough to recognize the quiet signs you leave along my path. Each gentle impression, each small shift in perspective, each moment of unexplainable peace feels like a reminder that you are here, leading me even when I do not have the words to ask for direction. Father, as I become more aware of these subtle ways you draw me forward, I ask for the sensitivity to notice them more clearly. Teach me to slow down long enough to hear what you are saying beneath the surface. Help me distinguish between the noise of fear and the quiet voice of wisdom that comes from you. Let me be patient with myself as I learn to recognize these whispers, understanding that growth is often found not in grand revelations, but in moments that seem small until I realize how deeply they reshape my journey. Let this awakening become a steady practice, a posture of listening that keeps my heart open to your presence. Lord, there are times when I worry about missing your guidance, when I fear taking the wrong step or misunderstanding the direction or pointing me toward. When those doubts rise, remind me that you do not require perfection from me. You simply ask that I remain willing. Help me trust that even when I falter, you know how to lead me back with grace. Let this awakening shift my focus from trying to control every outcome to trusting that you are already working in ways I cannot yet see. Allow me to rest in the truth that you do not abandon me to confusion, but meet me in it, turning uncertainty into an opportunity to draw closer to you. God, as this inner awareness grows, let it bring light to the choices I make, clarity to the thoughts I hold, and discernment to the paths I consider. Let it guide the way I speak, the way I listen, the way I respond to the world around me. I pray that this awakening becomes more than a moment. It becomes a habit of the heart, a quiet and continuous turning toward you. And as I learn to recognize your gentle guidance more clearly, let it lead me into deeper peace, deeper trust, and deeper confidence in the journey you are shaping before me. God, as this gentle awakening continues to unfold within me, I begin to recognize how often you have been guiding me long before I ever thought to look for your hand. The more I sit in this stillness, the more I realize that many moments I once dismissed as coincidence were actually quiet invitations from you, subtle reminders placed along my path to steer my heart back toward hope. It amazes me how patient you have been, whispering truth into places I kept closed, waiting for the day when I would finally slow down enough to feel the movement of your presence weaving through my days. Lord, this awareness softens me in ways I did not expect. I find myself replaying memories with new understanding, noticing how your comfort appeared in conversations I did not anticipate, in pauses that arrived just as my strength began to fade, in insight that surfaced right before discouragement could settle too deeply. These moments remind me that even when I felt lost or overwhelmed, I was never walking alone. You were there in every gentle redirect, every moment of clarity, every unexpected calm that kept me from collapsing under the weight of what I carried. Father, I ask that you continue expanding this awareness so I can see more clearly how you move through the details of my life. Teach me to notice the subtle signs I once overlooked, to recognize your hand not only in the extraordinary, but also in the ordinary rhythms of my day. Help me stay attentive to the nudges that guide me toward peace, the impressions that warn me to pause, the quiet shifts in my thoughts that lead me away from confusion. Let this awareness become a steady practice rather than a fleeting moment, shaping how I perceive the world and how I understand your presence in it. Lord, there are still moments when I hesitate, unsure whether what I sense is truly from you or simply my own thoughts. When uncertainty clouds my discernment, remind me that you do not play hide and seek with my heart. You guide with patience, not pressure. You clarify, not confuse. You lead through gentleness, not fear. Let this truth settle deeply within me, so I do not second-guess every step, but instead walk forward with confidence rooted not in my understanding, but in your unwavering care. God, as I embrace this deeper awakening, I pray that you shape within me a heart that listens differently, one that is not driven by urgency or fear, but by quiet trust. Let me become someone who can hear your guidance, even in the faintest whisper. Someone who recognizes when to move, when to rest, when to release, and when to hold steady. Let your voice rise above the noise of doubt, drawing me toward the life you are forming in ways I cannot yet see, but am learning to trust with increasing clarity. God, as this deeper awareness of your guidance continues to unfold within me, I feel you gently leading me into another layer of this journey, one where listening begins turning into action, and awareness begins shaping the steps I take. It is a tender shift, not a sudden command, but a gradual invitation to trust you enough to follow even when the path is unfamiliar. I sense that this is not about rushing forward or forcing myself into certainty, but about learning to move with a quiet obedience that grows from the peace you have been planting in my heart over time. Lord, I have spent so much of my life hesitating at the edge of change, afraid to make mistakes, afraid to step in the wrong direction, afraid to disappoint you even without knowing how. But you are teaching me that obedience is not about perfection. It is about willingness. It is about responding to the gentle prompts you place before me, even when they feel small, even when they do not make immediate sense. I can feel you loosening the grip of fear that once held me back, reminding me that trust is built not through understanding every detail, but through choosing to follow the quiet direction you place in my spirit. Father, help me learn to walk with this kind of obedience shaped by peace rather than pressure, by trust rather than fear. Let me move not from anxiety or desperation, but from the calm assurance that you go before me, Teach me to recognize the moments when you are nudging me forward, whether through opportunities that open unexpectedly or through a gentle discomfort that tells me it is time to grow beyond where I have been standing. Allow me to embrace these moments with a heart fully open, willing to follow without needing to see the end from the beginning. Lord, I know there will be times when I feel uncertain, when the steps you ask me to take seem small, inconvenient, or even confusing. When those moments come, remind me that obedience is often shaped through repetition, through choosing again and again to align my heart with your leading even when clarity has not fully arrived. Help me resist the urge to demand immediate answers or perfect explanations. Let me rest in the truth that you guide in layers, revealing each step at the right moment. Never rushing, never overwhelming, but always inviting me deeper into trust. God, as I learn to walk in this quiet obedience, let it transform the way I view my daily life. Let me see each conversation, each decision, each opportunity, each challenge as a place where your guidance can be recognized. Let it become someone who moves with intention, someone who listens not only with my ears, but with my spirit. And as I continue on this path, let obedience become not a burden, but a source of freedom, a way of living that keeps me close to you, aligned with your wisdom, and open to the unfolding work you are doing within me. God, as I continue to walk in this growing willingness to follow your quiet direction, I notice how obedience begins shaping the way I interpret the moments unfolding around me. Situations that once appeared random now hold a sense of purpose, as if each encounter, each pause, each shift in my plans carries a subtle invitation to trust you more deeply. I find myself pausing before reacting, listening before assuming, and offering my decisions to you before letting fear dictate them. This new rhythm is gentle but transformative, a reminder that obedience is not a single choice, but a steady alignment of my heart with yours. Lord, I am learning that obedience often begins long before I take a physical step. It begins in the small decisions within my thoughts, in choosing patience when frustration rises, in choosing quiet confidence when doubt tries to distract me, in choosing gratitude when worry attempts to cloud my perspective. These small movements of my heart feel like seeds you are planting, each one preparing me for larger steps I may one day take. I realize now that obedience is not measured by grand gestures, but by the posture of my spirit when no one else sees. Father, there are moments when the direction you place before me feels gentle, but persistent, like a soft pull toward growth that I cannot quite ignore. Sometimes it comes in the form of a conversation that lingers in my mind, urging me to respond with honesty or compassion. Sometimes it appears as a quiet knowing that it is time to let go of something that once felt essential, but now only weighs me down. And sometimes it emerges through an unexpected peace that settles over a decision I feared to make. These subtle movements remind me that you guide with care, shaping my steps with a precision I could never achieve on my own. Lord, even as I try to follow your leading, I still struggle with moments of hesitation. I still second-guess myself, wondering whether I am misinterpreting the direction you are revealing. When these doubts arise, Meet me with the reassurance that obedience is not about flawless interpretation, but about sincerity, about showing up before you with a willing heart, trusting that you can redirect me if I stray. Let this truth loosen the pressure I place on myself and allow me to walk forward with humility, knowing that your grace covers the places where my understanding falls short. God, as I grow in this practice of quiet obedience, let it reshape the atmosphere within me. Let it make me more receptive, more patient, more attentive to the gentle movement of your Spirit. Let it guide the way I speak to others, helping me respond with kindness rather than defensiveness. Let it shape the choices I make, grounding them not in fear of consequences, but in a sincere desire to align myself with your wisdom. And as obedience becomes a more natural rhythm within me, let it draw me into a deeper closeness with you, a closeness that steadies my steps, softens my heart, and prepares me for the parts of my journey I cannot yet see. God, as I continue walking gently in the direction you reveal, I sense another shift beginning to take form inside me. Something more profound than the changes I have noticed before. It feels as though the obedience you have been teaching me is opening the door to a deeper kind of transformation, one that moves quietly through the layers of my heart and reshapes the thoughts I once accepted without question. This transformation does not rush or demand. It unfolds slowly, like light spreading across the surface of still water, touching each part of me that has long waited to be renewed. Lord, I am beginning to understand that transformation is not just about leaving old patterns behind. It is about learning to embrace the new ways you are teaching me to see myself, my life, and the world around me. There are places within me that are softening in ways I did not expect, places where fear once lingered now beginning to fill with calm. Places where uncertainty once clouded my mind now slowly turning toward clarity. It feels like you are rearranging the foundations I built out of survival, replacing them with something gentler, stronger, and more aligned with the truth you have been whispering into my spirit. Father, I ask that you continue this quiet work within me. Let transformation reach the parts of me that I rarely acknowledge, the corners I avoid because they hold memories or beliefs I am afraid to revisit. Help me trust that your presence brings healing, not harm, and that you guide me into these places not to expose my weakness, but to reveal the strength you are cultivating there. Allow this transformation to deepen my patience, widen my compassion, and refine the way I interpret every moment you place before me. Lord, there are still areas where I resist change, not because I doubt your ability, but because I fear losing what is familiar. When I cling too tightly to old habits or outdated stories about who I am, remind me that you are not asking me to abandon myself, but to become more fully the person you always intended me to be. Transformation, replace the narratives shaped by past wounds with ones rooted in grace. Let it soften my reactions, shift my assumptions, and teach me to respond from a place of wholeness rather than fear. God, as this transformation settles deeper within me, let it shape the way I move through my days. Let it influence every choice I face, every conversation I enter, every moment I meet with uncertainty. Let it become the quiet evidence of your presence within me, something that does not need to be announced, but is seen naturally in the way I live, speak, and think. And as I continue forward, let this transformation become a constant reminder that you are not finished with me, that each moment holds the possibility of renewal, and that your steady guidance is shaping a life far richer and more grounded than the one I once imagined. God, as this quiet transformation continues to work its way into the deeper layers of my heart, I notice how it changes the way I interpret even the smallest moments of my day. Things that once stirred frustration now invite reflection. Situations that once triggered anxiety now feel like gentle reminders to pause and breathe. It is as though you are teaching me to see through a different lens, one shaped not by past fears, but by the new clarity you are forming within me. I can sense that transformation is not happening around me. It is happening inside me, rewriting how I respond, how I think, and how I understand what truly matters. Lord, this inner shift feels both tender and steady. It does not demand attention, yet it is unmistakable in the way my heart settles more quickly than before, in the way my thoughts soften when they begin to drift back toward old worries. I see now that transformation is not a single moment of breakthrough, but a series of quiet adjustments, each one realigning me with the truth you have been speaking all along. Every gentle correction, every soft redirection, every unexpected moment of calm becomes another piece of evidence that you are shaping me patiently and purposefully. Father, as this change unfolds, I ask you to help me welcome it without hesitation. I do not want to resist the growth you are nurturing simply because it feels unfamiliar. Remind me that transformation often requires releasing habits that once felt safe, letting go of perspectives that kept me small, and allowing myself to become someone I barely recognize, yet deeply long to be. Grant me the courage to cooperate with this process, rather than question every shift. Let my heart remain open as you continue rewriting the parts of me that no longer reflect who I am becoming. Lord, there are moments when this transformation feels uncomfortable, when old emotions rise unexpectedly, or when the new way of thinking feels fragile. In those moments, remind me that discomfort does not mean failure. It often means change is working its way through places that have been closed for too long. Help me trust that you are guiding even the difficult parts of this process, that you are gentle with my wounds and patient with my attempts to grow. Let me hold on to the truth that transformation is not meant to overwhelm me, but to restore what fear once diminished. God, as this deeper work continues, let it shape not only my inner world, but the way I move through the spaces around me. Let kindness become more natural. Let patience find room to flourish. Let compassion guide my responses long before frustration has a chance to surface. And as this transformation settles more fully into my heart, let it become a living reminder that you are not simply changing my circumstances, you are changing me, guiding me into a life marked by clarity, peace, and a deeper alignment with your wisdom. God, as the transformation you are working within me continues to deepen, I feel another gentle shift rising quietly in my spirit, one that carries the soft warmth of hope. It is not the loud kind of hope that demands immediate change, nor the fragile kind that depends on perfect outcomes. Instead, it feels like a calm invitation, a quiet reassurance that something new is beginning to take shape. even if I cannot yet name it. It is as if the ground within me has grown tender enough to receive seeds I once rejected out of fear, seeds of possibility, renewal, and genuine belief that goodness can still unfold from places that once felt barren. Lord, I realize now that hope is not wishful thinking. It is a posture of the heart, a readiness to expect your goodness even when I cannot see how it will arrive. For so long, I guarded myself against disappointment, convincing my heart that it was safer not to hope at all. But you are teaching me that true hope does not cling to specific outcomes. It clings to you. It trusts that your presence is enough to carry me forward, that your wisdom is shaping paths I have not yet walked, and that your timing is not a restriction, but a protection. This kind of hope feels steady, grounding, and surprisingly gentle. Father, help me open my heart to this new hope without hesitation. Let me release the instinct to question every good thing, to analyze every shift, to prepare for disappointment before it has a chance to appear. Teach me to breathe in your promises more deeply, letting them loosen the old fears that once convinced me I was safer expecting the worst. Show me how to rest in the truth. The hope does not make me vulnerable to loss. It makes me receptive to the life you are forming ahead of me. Lord, there are places where hope still feels distant, where past hurts echo loudly enough to make me cautious. When those memories rise, meet me with the reassurance that you are not asking me to erase the past, but to trust that does not define the future you are preparing. Help me see that every season of struggle can become fertile soil for growth, that nothing has been wasted in your hands, and that the same grace that carried me through pain is capable of carrying me into new beginnings. Let hope become the quiet light that guides me when the road ahead feels uncertain. God, as this hopeful stirring grows within me, let it shape the way I look at my life. Let it influence the expectations I carry, the dreams I allow myself to consider, and the possibilities I once dismissed too quickly. Let hope soften the discouragement that tries to linger, replacing it with a calm assurance that you are present in every unfolding moment. And as I continue walking forward, let this renewed hope become a steady companion, one that reminds me that no matter what lies ahead, I am held, I am guided, and I am being prepared for things I do not yet fully understand, but am learning to trust with an open heart. God, as this quiet hope begins to settle into the deeper parts of my heart, I feel it gently stretching areas within me that have been closed for far too long. It moves with a softness that catches me off guard, almost as if it knows that those places require patience, not pressure. I sense you showing me that hope is not meant to be grasped tightly or forced into shape. It is meant to unfold naturally, growing in its own time, taking root in spaces that have finally become ready to welcome it. Each moment I lean into this hope, I feel something inside loosening, old fears uncoiling, old assumptions fading, old patterns losing their hold. Lord, this hope you are awakening does not feel like an escape from reality. It feels like a deeper awareness of what is possible when you are the one guiding the story. It teaches me to look at situations not through the limitations of my past experiences, but through the open horizon, what you are capable of restoring. I find myself reconsidering dreams I once abandoned, possibilities I dismissed too quickly, and opportunities I believed I was unworthy of. You are showing me that hope does not require everything to make sense. It simply asks me to remain open to the ways you are able to transform what once felt impossible. Father, help me protect this hope as it grows, not by building walls around it, but by nurturing it with trust. Let me feed it with gratitude, water it with patience, and guard it against the old voices that insist nothing can change. When doubt tries to cloud my thoughts, remind me that hope has survived far heavier storms than the ones I face now. Let this hope anchor me when uncertainty rises, and let it remind me that every season of waiting has a purpose, even when I do not fully understand what you are preparing. Lord, I know there will be days when hope feels fragile, when circumstances appear unchanged, and when the progress I long for seems distant. On those days, give me the clarity to remember that hope is not measured by what I can see, but by what you are doing beneath the surface. Let me recognize that every quiet shift within me is part of the larger work you are unfolding, that even the smallest flicker of hope can illuminate the darkest corners of my heart. Teach me to hold hope gently, trusting that its growth does not depend on my strength, but on your constancy. God, as hope rises more fully within me, let it not only change the way I think, but also the way I move through the world. Let it soften my posture toward challenges, steady my voice when I face uncertainty, and brighten the way I look at the future you are shaping. Let it flow into the way I speak to others, offering encouragement where I once felt empty, understanding where I once felt guarded, and compassion where I once felt defensive. And as this hope continues to grow, let it become a living testimony within me that you are still at work, still bringing light into unexpected places, and still leading me forward with a tenderness that transforms everything it touches. God, as this renewed hope continues to settle within me, I feel you slowly turning my attention toward the steps that lie ahead. It is as though the hope you have planted has begun to steady my vision, allowing me to look at the future not with the fear that once clouded my thoughts, but with a quiet courage I did not realize was forming. This courage is not loud or forceful. It rises with the same gentleness you have shown throughout this journey, wrapping itself around my uncertainties and reminding me that I do not face anything alone. With each breath, I sense you preparing me to move forward, not rushed, not pushed, but guided. Lord, for so long I feared the unknown, convinced that any path I could not control would surely lead to disappointment. But you are teaching me that courage is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the willingness to walk even when certainty has not fully arrived. It is the choice to trust that you have gone ahead of me, clearing the ground I cannot yet see. This understanding softens the fear that once held me still, replacing it with a steady assurance that my steps are not random. They are part of a story you are shaping with intention and care. Father, help me carry this courage into every part of my life. Let it guide the way I make decisions, shape my conversations, and influence the posture of my heart when challenges appear, when I feel overwhelmed by possibilities. Remind me that I do not need to predict the future. I only need to follow the direction you are placing before me in this moment. When doubt tries to take over, Help me remember the ways you have stayed with me through every transition, every valley, every moment where I thought I could not continue. Let courage grow, not as a sudden burst of strength, but as a daily choice rooted in trust. Lord, I know there will be times when fear attempts to regain its old ground, whispering that I am not capable, not prepared, not strong enough to walk into what comes next. In those moments, let your voice be louder than the doubt. Remind me of the transformation you have already begun, the hope you have awakened, and the quiet obedience you have nurtured along the way. Let me see that courage is built step by step, through small acts of faithfulness, through returning to your presence when I feel uncertain, through remembering that you do not lead me into places you have not equipped me to navigate. God, as I learn to move with this quiet courage, let it change the way I see the road ahead. Let the future no longer feel like a threat, but like an open horizon where your grace is already waiting. Let me trust that each new chapter you lead me into carries purpose, even if I do not yet understand it. And as I continue forward, let this courage become a steady companion, one that holds my heart when fear returns, strengthens my steps when I hesitate, and reminds me that the life you are shaping is not built by my ability, but by your unwavering faithfulness. God, as this courage continues to grow within me, I begin to notice how it gently reshapes the way I interpret the possibilities ahead. What once felt intimidating now carries the quiet promise of something meaningful, something touched by your presence even before I reach it. I sense you inviting me to view the unknown not as a void filled with danger, but as a landscape where your guidance is already woven into every detail. With each passing moment, the fear that used to rise so quickly begins to lose its authority, replaced by a calm assurance that I am being led, not left to figure everything out alone. Lord, this new courage you are forming feels unlike any strength I have known. It is not the kind that demands bold declarations or dramatic gestures. It is a steady, grounded confidence that settles deep within me. It grows quietly when I choose patience over panic, when I step back to breathe instead of forcing myself forward, when I remember that your timing carries a wisdom beyond anything I could create. This courage does not urge me to race ahead. It teaches me to walk with intention, trusting that each small step taken with you holds more power than any leap made in fear. Father, I ask that you continue shaping this courage in ways that honor your presence in my life. Let it anchor me when circumstances shift suddenly, preventing me from returning to old patterns of overthinking and dread. Let it guide me in moments where decisions feel heavy, reminding me that I am not responsible for forecasting every outcome. Teach me to lean into the quiet bravery that comes from believing that you are with me, steady, faithful, and fully aware of the details I cannot yet see. Lord, I know there will be moments when courage feels distant, when unexpected challenges test the progress I have made. In those times, meet me with a deeper reassurance than words can provide. Remind me of the peace you have already planted, the hope that continues to rise, and the transformation that has taken root within me. Let me return to the truth that courage is not something I must generate from my own strength. It is something you cultivate within me through every moment we have walked together. God, as this courage prepares me for the steps ahead. Let it also soften my heart toward the present. Let it help me savor the moments of quiet growth, the pauses where you teach me to listen, the spaces where you reshape my understanding of who I'm becoming. And as I continue moving forward, let courage act not as a shield, but as a compass, one that points me toward the paths you have chosen, guiding me with a steady hand, reminding me that I can trust each day to unfold under your faithful care. Father, as I continue to walk forward with the quiet courage you have been cultivating within me, I find myself becoming more aware of the subtle ways you shape my inner world. It happens gently, almost imperceptibly, like a shift in the breeze or the slow brightening of morning light. There is no dramatic moment that announces change, yet I feel it taking root, softening old fears, loosening the grip of past worries, and creating space for something steadier and more hopeful to grow. This awareness brings me into a deeper sense of stillness, a place where I can finally pause long enough to notice what you have been building within me all along. Lord, I sense you inviting me to let go of the need to see the entire path before I take the next step. You are teaching me that trust is not found in certainty, but in presence. In knowing that even when I cannot see ahead, I am not walking alone. This realization lifts a weight from my shoulders, reminding me that I do not have to carry the burden of figuring out everything at once. You guide me in ways that are gentle yet unmistakably real, and each time I choose to rest in that truth, the noise inside me grows quieter, leaving room for peace to rise. God, I bring to you the lingering parts of me that still hesitate, the thoughts that whisper what if, the doubts that return when I am tired or overwhelmed. I ask that you meet those places with patience. Help me remember that growth does not erase all uncertainty at once. Help me be kind to myself on the days when I feel unsteady, and remind me that every step taken with sincerity counts, even the smaller ones. Let my hesitations become opportunities for deeper reliance on you, not reasons to shrink back from the life you are preparing me for. Father, as I continue this journey, I feel a gentle pull toward living with more openness. Openness to your leading, openness to unexpected blessings, and openness to the new version of myself that is emerging. I want to stop bracing for disappointment and instead learn to welcome hope without fear of losing it. Teach me to hold good things without suspicion, to accept joy without waiting for it to fade, to trust that the healing you bring is not temporary or fragile, but rooted in something far stronger than my old patterns. Lord, let this openness spill into the way I experience others. Help me listen more deeply, without judgment or hurry. Help me offer empathy without losing my boundaries. Help me show compassion without feeling responsible for every outcome. Remind me that meaningful connection begins when I allow myself to be fully present, not perfect. And that real love grows when I choose sincerity over performance. Guide me toward conversations that uplift, relationships that reflect peace, and interactions that carry your gentleness. God, as I sit with all these thoughts, I realize how far you have already brought me. The person I was when this journey began feels distant now, softened by the work you have done in the quiet spaces of my heart. And though I still have so much to learn, I feel a new steadiness taking shape, a steadiness that tells me it is safe to keep going, safe to hope, safe to change. With each morning, you remind me that I am being shaped with intention, guided with patience, and held with a love that does not shift with circumstance. Father, as these reflections unfold, I find myself drawn deeper into a quiet honesty with you, the kind that does not demand eloquence or perfection, but allows me to show up exactly as I am. There is something freeing in knowing that I do not have to filter my thoughts in your presence. I can let every unspoken worry, every unnamed longing, every small spark of hope rise to the surface without fear of being misunderstood. You meet me in the raw places that I usually keep hidden. And somehow, instead of judgment, I feel gentleness settling around me, like a warm blanket laid across my shoulders. Lord, in this soft honesty, I admit that there are moments when I still struggle to understand the pace of your work in my life. Some prayers feel like seeds buried deep in the soil, silent and unseen, and I wonder if anything is happening at all. Other times, change arrives unexpectedly, like a sudden gust of wind that shifts everything at once. Help me embrace both seasons with equal trust. Teach me to remain faithful when progress seems invisible, and humble when growth comes faster than I anticipated. Let me rest in the truth that you are always moving, even when I cannot trace the outline of your hand. God, I also bring before you the relationships in my life that still carry tension or distance. Sometimes misunderstandings linger like shadows that refuse to lift, and I find myself unsure of how to set things right. Other times, it feels as though people I care about are walking their own difficult roads, and I do not know how to help them without losing my own footing. Guide me in these places, not with rushed solutions, but with wisdom shaped by patience. Remind me that healing does not always require dramatic gestures. Sometimes it begins with listening, with small kindnesses, with the willingness to show up again and again in sincerity. Father, I feel you nudging me toward a deeper compassion, not only for others but for myself. It has always been easier for me to forgive the wounds of people I care about than the mistakes I have made. I carry my own failures longer than I should, revisiting them as if replaying them could somehow rewrite the past. But you call me toward a gentler way of seeing myself, one that recognizes imperfection without sinking into shame. Help me practice this self-compassion with courage. Help me release the burdens I was never meant to hold, so that my heart has room to breathe again. Lord, as this morning continues to unfold, I ask for clarity in the places where my mind still feels tangled. There are decisions waiting ahead of me, choices that feel heavy because they shape more than just my own path. I do not want to rush into them out of fear or hesitation. I want to move with intention, guided not by anxiety but by your steady wisdom. Clear my thoughts enough for me to hear the quiet answers you place within me. Give me the courage to follow those answers even when they lead me into unfamiliar territory, trusting that you will meet me there with everything I need. God, as I take another breath and let it settle into the stillness around me, I feel gratitude rising again, not in grand declarations, but in simple awareness. I am grateful for the strength you gave me yesterday, for the lessons wrapped inside the challenges, for the small unexpected joys that reminded me I am not walking through life unnoticed. I am grateful for this morning, for the chance to begin again with a heart that is slowly learning how to open without fear, how to trust without conditions, and how to hope without apologizing for wanting more than survival. Father, let this gratitude become the quiet foundation beneath all that I will step into today. Let it hold me steady when moments become overwhelming. Let it remind me that even when life feels uncertain, your presence is not. And as I continue forward, help me honor this journey not as something I must perfect, but as something I am invited to live with honesty, courage, and a heart that is slowly being reshaped by your love. Father, as I lean further into this quiet space of reflection, I realize how much my heart has begun to change from the inside out. It is not a sudden transformation, but a slow, steady unfolding. The way morning light gently expands across the horizon without forcing anything to hurry, I find myself breathing more calmly than I used to, as if something within me has finally learned that it does not need to fight every moment to survive. Instead, it can rest, it can soften, it can trust. And that shift feels like a quiet miracle I did not expect but deeply needed. Lord, in this calmness, I sense you drawing my attention to the deeper layers of my life, the ones I often overlook because they seem ordinary or unimportant. These small details shape my days more than I realize. The way I respond to disappointment, the way I handle unexpected pressure, the way I speak to myself in moments when no one else is listening. Teach me to see these quiet habits with honesty rather than shame. Show me how to reshape them in a way that aligns with your peace rather than my fears. Help me treat each moment as an opportunity to grow instead of a test I must pass. God, I bring before you the moments when I still struggle with uncertainty. There are times when questions rise faster than answers, and I feel caught between wanting to move forward and not knowing what the next step should be. In these places, remind me that clarity is not always given all at once. Sometimes it arrives in pieces, the way stars appear gradually as night deepens. Help me trust each small piece, and knowing that you reveal what I need at the right time. Keep me patient enough to wait, humble enough to listen, and brave enough to obey even when the path ahead remains only partially visible. Father, I ask you to continue strengthening the parts of me that still feel fragile. There are areas of my heart that carry old memories, places where disappointment once settled like dust that no wind seemed able to lift. And yet, somehow, you have been brushing those corners clean with a gentleness I can feel but cannot fully explain. Keep doing that work within me. Sweep away the heaviness that tries to linger. Replace old fears with quiet courage. Remind me that healing is not proof of weakness, but evidence of your persistent love, steady enough to reach the deepest places I thought were unreachable. Lord, I also lift up the dreams and desires I have tried to ignore because they felt too distant or too uncertain. Somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that wanting something deeply was dangerous, as if hope itself could betray me. But you keep showing me that hope is not an enemy to fear. It is a gift meant to guide me. Help me honor the dreams you placed in my heart, not by rushing ahead or forcing outcomes, but by nurturing them with trust. Let me believe that if you planted these desires within me, then you also intend to guide them toward the right time and the right form. God, as I think about today and the days to come, I ask for your presence to steady my inner world. When unexpected challenges come, let your peace rise before anxiety can take root. When moments feel heavy, let your strength meet me there before exhaustion settles in. When I feel uncertain about my worth or my place in the world, remind me gently yet unmistakably that I am held by a love that does not waver with circumstances. Let this assurance become the foundation I walk on. The grounding keeps me from being pulled away by fleeting emotions or shifting fears. Father, let this chapter of my journey become a turning point where I step forward with renewed clarity and quiet resolve. Not a dramatic declaration, but a simple, honest surrender to the steady work you are doing within me. I am learning, slowly but surely, to trust your timing, to welcome your wisdom, and to accept the grace you offer without hesitation. Let this be the morning where something within me aligns more deeply with you, where faith settles into the spaces that once belonged to fear, where hope becomes not a fragile wish, but a steady companion. Father, as I enter this quiet moment again, I sense something shifting within me, something that feels like a deeper invitation rather than a simple continuation. It is as though you are drawing me further into a space where I no longer resist the things I used to fear, where the weight I once carried begins to loosen without a fight. I do not fully understand how this change is happening, but I can feel it settling into my thoughts and my heartbeat, making room for a calm I have never known this deeply before. Lord, it becomes clearer each day that you are teaching me how to live from a place of inner steadiness instead of reaction, instead of being pulled by every worry. I am learning to pause, instead of letting old anxieties speak louder than truth. I am learning to listen for your whisper before responding, instead of bracing myself for disappointment. I am learning to make space for possibility, and in these shifts, I see how gently you have been guiding me. Never forcing, never rushing, only inviting. God, there are moments when this new peace feels unfamiliar, almost fragile, and I catch myself wondering whether it will last. Part of me still remembers the years when fear felt like my default setting, when survival overtook hope. In those moments of doubt, I ask that you remind me that the work you begin is the work you sustain. Let me trust that transformation does not depend on my strength alone, but on your presence shaping me with patience and wisdom. Help me release the instinct to question every good thing that comes, and instead let gratitude settle where suspicion used to live. Father, I bring before you the areas of my heart that still feel tangled, the places where I have tried to heal on my own, but keep reaching the same walls. I know you see these parts even when I try to hide them. And instead of turning away, you meet them with compassion. Help me surrender what I cannot fix. Help me admit when I am tired. Help me acknowledge the truth of my limitations without feeling ashamed. Teach me that surrender is not defeat, but the doorway through which your strength enters. Lord, I sense that you are preparing me for something that requires a deeper kind of trust, one that goes beyond understanding and rests instead on recognition. Recognition of who you have been. Recognition of what you have brought me through. Recognition of the subtle grace that has carried me quietly from one season into the next. Let this recognition anchor me when uncertainties rise. Let it remind me that I do not walk into anything unaccompanied, and that nothing ahead of me is stronger than the one who walks beside me. God, I lift up the relationships in my life that need healing or clarity. Some connections have left marks that still ache when touched. Others carry unspoken tension or unresolved misunderstandings. And some relationships feel like they are drifting without direction. I ask for your guidance in each of these spaces. Give me the courage to have honest conversations when needed, the humility to apologize when I must, and the wisdom to release what no longer aligns with the peace you are establishing within me. Let every bond in my life be shaped by sincerity, respect, and grace. Father, as I reflect on this journey, I realize how much more tender my heart has become. Not fragile, but tender, capable of seeing beauty in simple things, capable of finding hope where I once saw only endings, capable of trusting that I am being shaped for something meaningful. Let this tenderness remain. Let it become a reflection of your character growing within me. Let it guide my steps, my words, and the way I hold the world around me. Lord, as this quiet morning continues to unfold, I ask that you deepen my awareness of your presence in every small detail of my day. Let me notice the moments that carry your fingerprints. Let me feel your nearness not only in the extraordinary, but also in the quiet, the ordinary, the easily overlooked. Teach me to walk with a heart awake, a mind open, and a spirit aligned with the gentle work you are doing. Father, as I step into this final space of our long morning journey, I feel the quiet weight of everything you have been shaping within me. It is not a heavy weight, but a sacred one, the kind that settles gently into the soul, like a reminder of how far you have carried me. I look back on every moment when I felt lost, every stretch of silence when I wondered if you still heard me, every trembling thought that tried to convince me that I was alone. And now, standing here in this stillness, I see how your presence threaded itself through every hour, every breath, every unseen corner of my life. Lord, I open my heart one more time in this long prayer, not because I have reached the end of seeking, but because I have reached a new beginning of trust. I feel myself letting go of the urge to force answers, letting go of the pressure to be stronger than I am, letting go of the fear that used to rise whenever life shifted without warning. You have taught me that trust is not built in a single moment, but through 1,000 small surrenders, each one softening another layer of resistance within me. And now, I offer this moment too, hoping that it becomes another quiet place where your peace can rest. God, I lift up the pieces of my heart that are still learning to believe in goodness. I ask that you continue nurturing them long after this prayer ends. Let the steadiness you planted stay rooted even when circumstances change. Let hope remain open even when the future unfolds slowly. Let the strength you have been building rise gently in moments when old fears try to return. Shape my inner world in ways that keep me aligned with your calm, your wisdom, and your patient love. Father, I also bring into this final space the people who will hear these words. You know their stories, their battles, their hidden struggles, the thoughts they hold in the quiet hours before sunrise. You know the weight they carry on their shoulders, the questions they hesitate to speak aloud, the wounds that still ache even when they try to appear strong. I ask that you meet them with the same tenderness you have shown me. Let them feel seen. Let them feel comforted. Let them feel guided even if they do not yet know where their path will lead. Lord, remind every listener that healing does not happen all at once. It happens slowly, through small moments of courage, small moments of release, small moments of choosing faith over fear. Remind them that they are not behind, not forgotten, not overlooked. Let them sense your presence in ways that feel personal and undeniable, the kind of presence that brings warmth into cold spaces and clarity into confusing moments. Let your love become a soft place where they can rest without pretending to be stronger than they feel. God, as this prayer draws near its closing breath, I feel gratitude rising like a gentle tide. Gratitude for the way you have woven peace into places that once felt fractured. Gratitude for the way you have turned fear into quiet strength. Gratitude for every moment when you stayed beside me, even when I doubted you were near. And I ask that this gratitude extend beyond me. Let it touch every heart that has chosen to walk through this journey. Let it settle within them like a steady reminder that you remain close, that they are held, and that nothing is too broken for your grace to restore. Father, I thank every soul who has stayed through this long path of prayer, who has listened with an open heart, who has allowed themselves to slow down enough to breathe deeply and feel the weight of your presence. I pray that something in these words becomes a seed that grows within them, something that lingers gently throughout their day. And to every listener, I offer my gratitude. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Thank you for allowing these moments to touch your spirit. Thank you for choosing to open your heart today. As we step out of this sacred space together, I invite each person listening to share their feelings, their reflections, or their own quiet prayers below. Your words may become a comfort to someone else walking through a similar season. And if this time has brought peace to your heart, I gently invite you to stay connected, to subscribe, to share this with someone who needs hope, and to continue nurturing your faith each day. You are not walking alone. You are guided, held, and deeply loved. And now, as the last lines of this prayer drift into the quiet, may the soft glow of early morning light rest gently on your spirit, like a calm breeze moving across open water, steady and full of promise.